The Backrooms movie. Yes, it's finally out. It's been out. I'm recording this a little late, but the movie's out and I saw it and I loved it. I've been a fan of Kane Pixel's Backrooms series for a long time, pretty much as soon as it first came out, like within the first week of the first video I was on it. I really wanted him to make a feature-length video or, you know, something the length of a movie, but on YouTube, and he got close a couple of times with The Oldest View and Found Footage 3. And then the movie got announced. I followed every update and I was on top of it, and the movie finally came out. And then I finally got tickets to see the movie, and actually 2 days after I saw Obsession, so that was pretty cool to see those both back to back. But this right here at the very beginning of the video is your spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie yet, don't watch this video because I'm really gonna spoil it. Upon leaving the theater, I felt disappointed, and it's because the movie felt a lot like a and then this happens kind of movie. And I don't know if it was the movie or the guy next to me farting the whole time. It was something though. Here's a quick breakdown of the movie, just if you haven't seen it in a while or if you haven't seen it yet but don't plan to. The movie follows Clark and Mary, who are both the main character and kind of their own separate thing. Mary is Clark's therapist, and Clark has a lot of anger issues and struggles with a lot of loneliness and sadness. He's currently living in his furniture store, the Ottoman Empire, which in the basement has an entrance to the Backrooms. The thing that made me feel disappointed at first was the movie opened with a quick 1 or 2 minute little found footage thing in the Backrooms, and then what felt like 20 minutes passed. Maybe it was actually 20 minutes, maybe it was just 10 or 15, but still it felt like a very long time was spent developing these characters and getting their stories kind of out of the way. Roughly 20 minutes in, that's when we see the Backrooms just straight up full on. Clark goes in there. We get a really nice exploration scene where he just kind of walks around for a bit. It's really satisfying because I always like the idea of exploring the Backrooms, and to see somebody just kind of do that was neat. While he's exploring, he encounters a few strange things and then gets himself in a little bit of danger, so he has to get out of there and does the only logical thing you could possibly do while being chased by an unknown entity in an unknown place. He steals a stool that does not get mentioned or brought up ever again. Clark then goes to his therapist, Mary, to tell her, hey, I just found this crazy thing. He brings a map, he brings all this stuff. A couple of days has passed since he first went in there. Mary doesn't seem to believe him, but also kind of does. It's kind of not clear exactly how she feels. Mary not believing him is kind of what sets things off big time. He goes to his 2 teenage employees to be like, hey, you still got that camera? Cool, let's go film this. Although he doesn't tell them what's up, he doesn't tell them anything about the danger, he just makes them follow him in there, and of course things go wrong. They get attacked by the entity. We don't explicitly see either of them die, and before we see how Clark gets out of this situation, it goes to the next scene. But by this point, some time has passed. Clark's been in there for a while. Clark has also been missing, so Mary goes to look for him, goes to the Ottoman Empire, and ends up in the Backrooms herself. It's pretty much from this point on, we just stay in the Backrooms. Throughout the movie, it occasionally cuts to some of Mary's memories, which are pretty cool, and I think really help contribute to the idea that the Backrooms are a physical manifestation of memories. Oh my god, I just noticed the bags under my eyes. Mary's not in there for very long before she encounters Clark, who has clearly had a mental shift. It's by this point in the movie when it's very clear that Clark is struggling with some very intense mental health problem. He chokes out Mary and then brings her to some kitchen with a couple of still lifes in it. They're not really people though, they're just memories, and they're just all distorted and weird and don't really do anything. They just stand there and observe, and they're also filled with angel food cake. Honestly, it looked really yummy. I really wanted a sub. In this little kitchen area, it's made very clear that Clark has just lost it. Also, I'm going to be saying Clark a lot, so if you feel like it, take a shot every time I say it and see if you're capable of leaving a comment by the end of the video. At the very end of the movie, we finally see that the entity is not a bacteria monster, it's Pirate Clark. Pirate Clark is really cool, and he was, at least as far as I could tell, was fully practical. There was no CG there. It definitely took me out of the movie a little bit when there was a close-up of the face, but other than that, I wasn't taken out. I thought it was pretty cool. It's an argument between Mary and Clark, and Mary says, well, maybe it's just the way you're wired. You don't have to change. And then Clark, feeling so relieved by this information that he doesn't have to keep trying to be a better person. He can just suck. He's so relieved by this revelation. He turns around to Pirate Clark and he says, you hear that? We don't have to change. And then Pirate Clark proceeds to pick him up and give him the Gok Gok 3000. Mary manages to escape and then runs away from Pirate Clark and is running through the Backrooms pretty aimlessly until she eventually comes into contact with one of the async traps that are set to try and get the entity. She almost gets got, but then she narrowly escapes and then runs into async employees, and they take her in, and then she gets interrogated, and then she probably died. It's not super clear in the movie, but that is my assumption. That rundown is pretty much how I felt like the whole movie went. Leaving the theater, that's really all that I had on my mind, and I was just like, damn, this stuff just kind of happened, I guess. But then the day kept going. We all got in the car to head back home, and I got in the back seat, and I spent most of the ride just looking out the window. As we drove, we kept passing these stores that were these eerie, empty, abandoned but still like clean places, kind of just like an empty lobby. And then there was an appliance store, a furniture store, a restaurant, and then just countless buildings with nothing in them, and it really created this weird, eerie, liminal feeling. The more I started remembering those shots from the movie and the way that it made me feel, I started noticing that that's kind of how the movie is supposed to be, I think. By the time I was home, my mind was like already starting to change. I went from just being ready to move on with my day to not being able to look anywhere at all ever without just finding some way to see it as kind of like, ooh, liminal space, ooh, eerie, creepy. And it was really fun. It was really exciting. I honestly really enjoyed it. I feel like that uncanny liminal feeling has just been lost, and it's been hard to kind of find something that really gets that vibe. The movie got the vibe, nailed it, and then left you with it. Was like, all right, hey, go home now. Try not to think about it. And yeah, I couldn't stop. My girlfriend and I ended up sitting on the couch watching theory videos about the movie, just watching some of the original YouTube stuff. I actually enjoyed the movie so much that I set up this little tape. Here, I'll show you guys. Yeah. All right, come here, follow me. As we've been decorating and putting up stuff like what my girlfriend made, very cool, very cool. I put up this. It's kind of, this hallway's really narrow. It's kind of hard to show you. It's very narrow. Look, my hand covers up the whole thing. It's pretty small in here. This thing I liked because it's just like, you know, I put it up real fast as if I was marking something real quick. My favorite part about this is that it's real. I'm really excited to show you guys this. So here it is. It's nothing exciting. It's just an open room with like pretty much nothing. The layout of the Backrooms room matches this pretty well, actually. Notice how it's like big open space, hallway over there, then like just something here, and then pile of stuff here. I've been slow at unpacking. Also, Fan Expo Hall. What a bragging right. But I just thought that was interesting. It really is based off of memory. I'll take you guys back in there and show you what exactly it looks like. Ow. Okay. All right, it'll be back. Here's a still frame. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this. But yeah, we loved it. I liked it a lot, and I had a lot of fun with it. After a couple of days, it kind of clicked for me that the Backrooms are a physical manifestation of memory, and that the movie was not necessarily designed to develop the plot or to introduce new characters for sequels and stuff. It wasn't meant for anything like that. It was meant to make you feel like you were there, and by God did it. The chase scene with Mary, there's this just pit that's just this like endless, bottomless, just Backrooms pit. And it's terrifying. It made me feel so squirmy in my seat. I was really, but I went from this feeling of being like, oh, this movie kind of sucked, and just, oh, this happened, and then this happened, to this feeling of like, that like the Backrooms are real, or at least just wishing that it was real. And I've been seeing a lot of people talk about theories. I mean, granted, that's because I've been watching theories. I don't know if it's like big news or anything. But something I haven't really seen is like, why did Pirate Clark eat Clark? Why'd he do that? Because it wasn't very clear in the movie. But I think after thinking about it and watching these theories, a lot of things that people have pointed out is that Pirate Clark was pretty much like a very basic copy of Clark. It was the average of what Clark is. Violent, scary, kind of unpredictable, and sad, and alone, because Pirate Clark is the only still life that we've seen so far that can just walk around and do its own thing. And I think that's because Clark has been living in such close proximity to the Backrooms for such a long time. We know that it copies Clark. Having his mental illness issues that were going on, being in the Backrooms, he said that the still lifes, the people, you could eat them, although they're not very nutritional. And I think that's something that, even though he was struggling, he was only doing that out of survival. It's not something that he wanted to do, and I think he was uncomfortable doing it. He wasn't happy to do it, you know? And I think that might be why Pirate Clark didn't eat Clark in the very beginning. We kind of get like signs and hints that like maybe Pirate Clark is eating everybody else, and that maybe that's just like just because Clark is just wired like that, he's just a people eater, maybe. Pirate Clark does not eat Clark until he turns around and looks up at him and says, you know, hey, it's okay, we don't have to change, it's just the way we're wired. And then Pirate Clark is like, damn, really? We could just do whatever we want, we don't have to change? Okay, and picks him up and eats him. But I think it's just because Pirate Clark was copying Clark. Like, if there had to be a reason behind it, there's no reason for Pirate Clark to do something outside of what makes sense within the realm of Clark's normal operation. Something that I feel like supports my theory that Pirate Clark was not being hostile is because then Pirate Clark, while chasing Mary, drags Clark's body around behind him for a little bit. And I think that's because Mary is the therapist, she is the helper, she's the fixer. And in my mind, I kind of saw that as Pirate Clark, with his sad, distorted face, was dragging Clark's body around to be like, hey, Mary, can you come fix this? Pirate Clark was sad the entire time he was chasing Mary, and I don't think he was really ever acted hostile. He did like kind of crawl on the ground and get like on top of Mary, but even then, my girlfriend and I both noticed the same thing, that Pirate Clark's face was changing. He was getting sadder. He was getting more upset, and by the end of it sounded and looked like he was crying. Clark may have like hurt Mary by choking her out, but he wouldn't hurt her. You know, he didn't want to hurt her. I felt like that was very clear. So I don't think Pirate Clark was trying to hurt Mary. But overall, I think the movie was good. If you're a fan of liminal spaces and the Backrooms, this movie's great. This is a great movie. It captures the feeling very well. The entire time that they were in the Backrooms, I was immediately on edge of like, what's around every corner? What's at the end of that hallway? What's down there? What's this? I was scared. I was nervous, and I felt this uncanny uneasiness, and it was great. I love that feeling with liminal spaces. I feel like that's the main appeal to liminal spaces, is that weird, uneasy feeling. And the movie not only does a phenomenal job at creating that, but it makes you feel like you're there and then leaves you with that feeling. If you like the YouTube series, if you like just liminal spaces in general, go watch this movie and enjoy it. And if you've already seen it, leave a comment. Tell me what you thought about it. I love talking about this movie, and tell me what you thought about this video. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye! That was stupid. Bye.